My name is Dzodzi Tsikata. I'm a professor of development studies at SOAS at the University of London. And I'm a member of the team which is running the SDG's Interaction project.
How do you understand knowledge brokering? What does it mean to you?
To me, knowledge brokering is a process of synthesis and dissemination in which knowledge becomes bigger than it started out. If we broker knowledge among a series of research projects, what we are trying to do is to make the knowledge we produce bigger than the sum of its parts.
What are your thoughts on using the SDG framework of the United Nations?
It represents a global consensus about some of the big development challenges that the world faces, whether they are economic, whether they are social, or whether they are environmental. And this makes it possible for countries to cooperate to push it, because the goals are supposed to make the world a better place. It also sets some clear parameters for measuring progress, and I think that makes them a very important instrument to use. That said, we all know that the SDGs are not a magic wand. They do not tell us how to go about development, what policies to put in place, and how to reach these goals.
Do you think the ambition of co-creating policies or finding these kind of policy alignments in co-creation is possible, or is it simply too political?
I think the fact that we want to do it means that we think it's possible. I think what's important is to be cognizant of the clear challenges involved in this and doing it as honestly as we can. So power is a huge issue when we think about this idea of co-creation of knowledge, co-creation of policies, and co-creation of programs. And the problem with power is that there are different levels of power. So even among researchers from the global north and south, there are power differentials in terms of who's paying for the research, their expectations and how that controls the research process. There's power about which methods to use to do the research. There's even power about the outlets where we put out knowledge and who's using them and who's reading them and who's being influenced.
How can we ensure that we are working meaningfully with local partners and stakeholders and make sure the knowledge looks back into these communities?
That is a very challenging question, because there are many obstacles to this meaningful work. I think one big obstacle to meaningfully interacting with communities has to do with the fact that many African governments are not funding research. Their research budgets are non-existent, and so much of the research taking place in Africa is being funded by others who have their own agendas and priorities. The second point related to that is that many African researchers have become junior partners in research projects, and so it limits what they are able to do. I think, for example, that if we really want to know what's happening in communities, we need some big shifts in how we think about development and development problems, taking it from the point of view of communities. We also need to fashion action research methods which are more meaningful to communities than to researchers. But this is a complicated dance. Why should communities be interested in research? Because it solves their problems. And these different aims and objectives are often quite difficult to align.
What is the main added value that you see in this research program?
I think one of the main added values in this research program is, one, the fact that the 3 research projects we are trying to broker knowledge for are focused and cognizant of the indivisibility of the SDGs. The second added value is the understanding of the importance of policy choices and different policy approaches to achieving the SDGs. And the few policies that are being interrogated in these research projects, I think, have applicability for other policies. And if, for example, this project allows us to assess how the 50 years of austerity policies, for example, what they've meant for development in Africa, would have contributed something substantive to thinking about policy directions and their implications for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals.